I'm waiting for the responses. Lovely. Oyedele praise. Good morning. Good morning, Rihanna. Good morning, Emmanuel. Let's have 3 more people. Good morning, Justin. Okay, 2 more people. Good morning. Good morning. Let's do it like we're having a physical event. When someone says good morning, we get responses. Ojo Victoria, good morning. 1 more person. All right. Good morning. Lovely. Lovely to have all of you. You're welcome to today's meeting. It's amazing for us to be here as youth, as people who are interested in transforming ourselves and being better, and much more. The fact that you are here on this beautiful and cold Saturday morning when you could be snuggled up under your blanket, it means a lot to us at Engage Youth. And we want to say thank you so much for making our time to be here. Once again, you are most welcome. We are set for an amazing time today because it's all about us, young people, youth. We're celebrating the International Youth Day, and this event, this seminar, this webinar, or whatever you call it, is tailored just to celebrate the youth and deliver insightful speeches that would improve us as youth, that would equip us with what we need to do better and better in this world. Yes, so once again, you're welcome. My name is Oluwalu Bamishe, and I'm your host for today. Excuse the little noise in the background. I'm also, let me say, celebrating Youth Day with some youth in my church. So you might hear some buzz in the background, but no worries, we're all in the same spirit. All right, so I think I have people who have said good morning in the chat section. So I just want us to, now I've seen your text and I want to hear your voices. So you can just unmute and just tell me how you are doing this morning. I just need 5 people. Just tell me how you are doing this morning. Thank you.
Hi, Bamishi. I'm doing very well. I'm very excited about this session. Like, it's something that I'm very passionate about. So I can't wait. I can't wait to unleash all of the things that I'm going to share with the house. So, team, and yes, congratulations on the celebration of another international youth. I'm still a very young person. So, hope everybody's doing well too.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Rihanna. And yes, I'm doing fine as well. Thank you. Yes, who else are we having? Let me just have 1 more person so that we kick off with the rest of the program. So 1 more person, just unmute, or you can open your video like Rihanna did and just tell us how you are doing today.
Good morning. My name is Justin Adoga, and it's awesome to be here. I was invited, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of information and knowledge communicated in this meeting today. So I'm happy to be here. Sorry, I can't put on my video now because of where I am, but I hope everyone can hear me very well. So I'll be to ensure that I get the details of everything and then participate in the activities of this meeting. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Justin. That was so pleasant. I love the fact that the 2 people who spoke have such pleasant voices and pleasant charisma, because I enjoyed listening to you. Thank you, Justin. And maybe you put in the chat section who invited you, because we have to give that person code Ribena for inviting you. You're welcome, and definitely you're going to have a great time. If it's in information, if it's in knowledge, there's an overload of it coming at you soon. So welcome once again to every single person. Yes, so we are here for the Engage Youth Africa event for youth in commemoration of the International Youth Day, right? And we have amazing speakers whom I will be introducing. And then right after I'm done, we'll have one of our very own strong, let me call it strong volunteers, very active. If you're on the group chat, you would know her. She'll be giving an intro about Engage with Africa. And then right after that, we'll be having the keynote address. All right, so let me introduce our speakers for today. Taking the keynote address is architect Dr. Bola Oyelaki. He's an architect, he's an astute professional as a project manager, and he also is the founder of Engage Youth Africa Initiative. And when we call it Engage Youth Africa, we're not just putting together big words. Engage Youth is an African organization, meaning it spans across shores of Nigeria. So we also have representation in other African countries, and we hope to expand as God helps us. Also on the panel, we have Oluwademilade Orimolade. She's an SDGs development knowledge facilitator. And then we have architect Olashupo Oladipo, or another architect as well. And he's an architect, a structural engineer, and projectpreneur. And then finally, we have Rihanna Amusu. She's a Hilton Prize scholar, an Atlas Corp Virtual Leadership Institute personnel, and she also loves to travel and so much more. So before I go into all of those details, let me introduce us to the topic of today. We are talking on from clicks to progress, the youth digital pathways for sustainable development. So we're talking all things from the use of digital platforms to facilitating sustainable development. Our keynote speaker is going to give us more insight on that. But before he goes on, allow me to introduce the beautiful, hardworking, diligent head of administration or admin personnel of Engage with Africa, Ms. Bolanle Olaleye. You have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Bavishe. Good morning, everyone. I feel so flattered. Thank you. And I'm really, really excited to be here today to have this session, in celebration of the International Youth Day 2024. So I'll be giving us a brief about Engage with Africa initiative, where we started from, what we are doing, what we're all about, because we have so many new members or new people that are joining us for the first time. So I'll just be running us through a brief of who we are and what we do. So Engage with Africa initiative started as a monthly contact meeting with youth in Ogbomoso, Oyo State in 2011. And the meeting was called Engaging Youth with the Truth. And then it evolved actually over time, because the aim was to interact with community youth then in a particular location. So Ogbomoso was the focus area as at the point, and the aim was to enlighten them on the necessity of knowing the truth and defending what is truth in life, as the absence of truth actually brings darkness and propagates all forms of evil. So as time actually, grows, as time grew, rather, it was obvious that this kind of initiative actually needs to go across different states and different countries actually in Africa. So it evolved, and then it was now Engage Youth Africa initiative. And now we have grown into a Pan-African community, youth-focused, non-governmental organization. And since the outset, Engage Youth Africa initiative has organized many contact meetings. We've organized many community outreaches, supported community youths on vocational trainees, educational scholarships, and we've carried out some other community advocacy events. We have the highlights of some of these events on our website. We have some on our Instagram and other social media pages where we give highlights of the things that we have done. And our thematic areas of key focus in Engage with Africa initiative are actually advocacy. We are keen on capacity building and skill acquisition. By this, we actually organize monthly training meetings for our volunteers and also for outsiders to also join, as we aim to develop volunteers, to develop ourselves so that we can grow as a person before we reach out to people outside there to impact them. Also, we are keen on climate change and environmental sustainability. We are keen on community development. We are keen on career development, youth education, entrepreneurship, research, data analysis, and development. So our vision in this initiative is to raise a generation of transformed African youths as change agents who will positively transform and change the narratives in African nations. It's a thing that, Nigeria, African countries, there is like a trend. And then what Engage with Africa initiative is coming to do is to change a youth per time. So that the transformative effect of changing a particular youth goes in turn to change other youths in the community, and from there, the world at large can become a better place. So it is like start with a youth at a time to change a person at a time, and the ripple effect of that changes the whole community at large, changes the world at large. So our mission is to transform and empower African community youths into change agents through strategic collaboration, partnerships, through responsible leadership in areas of youth education and literacy, digital information, communication and technology, civic engagement and participation, entrepreneurship, and skill acquisition. Part of this event we're having today also is like part of the ways by which we are also trying to implement this positive change and also talk about how we can improve the community and society at large. So for more information, you can check us out on our website at Engage Youth engageyouthafricainitiative.org. We also have our social media handles. We'll be sending them in the chat box so that we can have access to them for people that are just joining on for the first time on this call. And further information will also be shared for people that would like to join the initiative as volunteers or also tell other people about us. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bolanle, for that beautiful and swift introduction of what Engage Youth Africa, also AI initiative or AI is about. We can take away anything from, she said a lot of things with her sweet voice. So in case you were carried away with the voice, what you should just take away is that Engage Youth Africa initiative is a Pan-Africa non-governmental organization with one goal: to transform the youth so that we can transform the narratives about Africa. Thank you so much, Bolanle. All right, now we are moving to the keynote address by the keynote speaker, to be taken by none other than the founder of Engage Youth Africa Initiative, architect Dr. Wolaun Pearl Oyelakin. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wonderful compare today, Bamishe. Thank you. And thank you, Bolanle, for the wonderful introduction you've done. And I also want to once again welcome everyone to this session. As we all know, we are youth and we are celebrating ourselves. So when we are saying we are celebrating International Youth Day, we are celebrating ourselves. Without wasting time, I will share my screen now. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, awesome. So I'll quickly dive in here so that we can keep to time. I will be giving us a brief introduction and insight into what we are looking at today. As we all know that the theme for this year has to do with digital technology. And we are in a age and time where technology is the bane of conversation. Technology is driving all processes, is driving every aspect of life. And guess what? The people who are right there at the center of the drive are youth. And it's not just only limited to Africa, it's across the entire world. So if there is any young person out there who is not connecting with technology, or who seems to still be living in this world of, oh, technology is a hoax, technology is just a game of the white and all of that, then that person is not living in reality. So we are here to just charge ourselves up and begin to see areas where we need to leverage on technology for us to transform the world, as that is the focus and the mission of Engage Youth Africa Initiative, as we empower people, youth across African region. So we're looking at from clicks to progress, youth digital pathway to, sorry, I hope you can still see my screen.
No.
Hello, can you still see my screen?
No, but no, it's blocked. Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Sorry, let me reshare. I noticed that that's why I wanted to be sure. Sorry for that. What about now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, I think it's good now. So let me quickly dive in here. So I will be talking to us basically about key areas where youth digital innovation is driving sustainable development, and also to just give us an insight into some of the sustainable development goals of the United Nations that technology is directly impacting. There are some that technology is indirectly impacting. In the panel session, we're going to be dealing with some critical issues around some of these things, but just to create a background for smooth transition into the panelist session. Then also, what are the strategies that will enhance youth digital pathways? And of course, there are challenges, there are barriers that youth face in order to embrace, the process of embracing this technological advancements, and also in the area of innovating new technologies, as it were. So these are some of the things I'll quickly gloss over, not necessarily giving us full conversations around them. I know subsequently we might need to begin to look at how to have robust conversation on technology. First thing we need to understand is the fact that 60% of Africa's population are currently within the ages under 25. Okay, so when we are talking about African population, we are talking about youth population. Africa has the largest youth population in the world, and it's put at around 650 million youth. And there is this strong narratives around the fact that by the next few years, by 2030, that might increase by quota of about 3 to 5%. And the fear is by the time we are looking at 2050, right, the population would have doubled. So we'll be looking at having a population of about 1.3 billion youth population in the whole of Africa. That speaks a lot of volume. I mean, there are so many derivatives that we can pull out from this data. So I just want us to anchor that on one hand. Then the other thing is about the pathway that we need to begin to leverage on, for us to be able to drive social inclusion, social relevance and development, and of course, to also facilitate the process of economic growth in Africa, because Africa seems to be laid back. Most of African region, if not majority or all, are classified to be under developing economies or underdeveloping economies, excuse me. So we need technology as a great leverage for us to be able to transit from this narrative into what will make us to stand at par with global economies, with world economy. The other thing is also how we are going to drive social impact and transformation in our communities. This is one of the focus of Engage Youth Africa initiative. So there's a way by which we can facilitate this process using technology. And that is why the conversation is very, very important. And those that are already embracing it, we need to find a way to support them and empower them more. And of course, SDG is the main baseline that is being used by global corporations and initiatives like United Nations initiatives and all of that. And guess what the Secretary General of United Nations says? That's General Antonio Guterres. He said achieving sustainable development goals require seismic shifts, which can only, carefully know that, can only happen if we empower young people, if we empower African youth and work with them as equals. So when we are talking about technology, if you are able to empower youth, African youth with technology, and you give them the enabling environment for them to work at par with their contemporaries across the globe, we are rest assured that the achievement of SDGs, that Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals, by the year 2030, which is just about less than 6 years away, let's just say 5 years away, this is going to be attainable. And then by the time we are meeting in 2030, we'll just sit down to find a way to drive new conversation on development, because there are new problems, there are new issues that the world needs to deal with. So what are the key areas of this digital inclusion and innovation that we need to focus on in terms of sustainable development goals? Number one has to do with education. And this is one of the bane of this meeting. This is one of the focus of this meeting. We are here to educate ourselves, to learn new things, and to relearn and to unlearn. Like I mentioned, if there are people who are still out there, being beclouded with the fact that technology is not real, I'm sure by the time we are done with our session today, you will agree with us that technology has come to stay, and there's going to be continuous improvement and growth in the area of technology. So education is very key. And there are quite a lot of opportunities for us to learn now, not necessarily in the formal way. There are a lot of informal processes ongoing online and everywhere in the globe that will necessitate us to learn and grow beyond the traditional way of learning in classrooms and in person and all of that. People are joining this meeting from different parts of the world, as I believe, So the other one has to do with entrepreneurship. So you are not just going to learn, you are going to move from the position of learning into putting into active use the things that you've learned. We have left the time and age where people just learn, like what we used to say back then when we were in school, that you learn to cram and pour down for your lecturers for them to be able to pass you, and you move on. This is a time where people associate only with result, value. So the essence of youth embracing entrepreneurship are not just leaving school and looking for jobs to do. They are now job creators, they are innovators, they are entrepreneurs, techpreneurs, who will create opportunities for others to leverage on. So that is part of what we will be focusing on in the next few months. as we are taking people through the learning process. Then the issue of health is also important. Then we'll look at agriculture, and you can see that generally all walks of life, there is an inclusion of technology. So you have agri-tech, you have health tech or medtech, even in governance, both in the private and the public sector, you also have inclusion of. So these are key areas where youth can begin to focus on and create a niche for themselves. And you'll see some of the examples as I soon round up, some of the examples of people who are already taking good hold of this different aspect of life. There are quick facts that I want us to know, take note of as we proceed on in this meeting, in this event. Number one is the fact that half of the global population are currently under 30. I think the whole world is now taking, they are emulating Africa, because an example is China, India, Indonesia, Pakistan. These countries are making serious policies to control, their population growth, So because of that, it necessitates that more young people are being groomed up and all of that. And you have these people below age of 30. And it's expected that in the next 5 years, about 5 years, more than half of the world population are going to be under 30. So there has to be a strategy by which meaningful engagement will be put in place to enable successful growth and participation of this demographics, this set of people, who are very critical to the growth of the entire world. Otherwise, they become an idle tool for the enemy to use for the destruction of the world. So there has to be this kind of optimism and promotion of inclusion of youth across board, not just necessarily in governance, even in the area of solving problems, right? So youth has to be empowered, they have to be encouraged, and this is part of what we are focusing on, as an organization. And of course, in terms of governance, there has to be a strong inclusion. Policies has to be made across board, not just for us to be talking about this at the level of our community, even at the highest level of governance. There has to be an inclusion of youth in order for them to be able to play their role in developing the world. And of course, by the year 2030, 1.3 billion, I mentioned this before, is assumed to be the projected population of youth that will traverse the universe. And that, for me, is a lot of work that we need to begin, like yesterday, to begin to see how to deal with. Interestingly, 70% of the impact that SDG is making, across the different targets of SDG, we have about 169 targets on SDG out of the 17 goals. 70% of this impact is being driven by technology. And you can imagine, if we amplify, the way by which we harness and utilize technology, that means we can actually reach 100% goal. So 100% is possible if we have that inclusion of technology in our processes, right? Then technology is also going to be what will continually drive data. Data is one of the problems why many of our solutions are not being underscored. So these are part of what we believe that with our learning process, we are going to achieve. Then reducing costs of driving more value and doing more impact projects, is one of the things that we believe that technology will do. It will reduce the cost of solving problems. And finally, it's important that looking at the different areas of challenges that you are going to face by the time you move out into the unknown, because many of us are going to be embracing technology for the first time, or you are even within the space, but new things are happening every now and then. We have the emergence of AI and all the nuances that AI comes with and all of that. So part of the things that you need to understand has to do with how to create that equality in the space, okay? How do you bridge the gap of infrastructure? How do you ensure that there's proper regulation in terms of putting right policy in place so that people don't misuse technology? And then that fear now becomes the reality. And of course, how we are going to make funding available for people who are going to be at the forefront or even pioneering new fronts, new paradigms, and bringing necessary shifts into the industry. So these are things that we believe that with our collective efforts and our collaboration, we can, be able to address them and give them right solution head on. And part of the strategy in rounding up that I'm going to present to us is, number one, we have to continue our effort on capacity building. There is no end to learning. Learning is progressive. Education is the bane of what, so we are starting with education and we'll continue with education. So you can be rest assured that we will commit to continuous education. And once we are putting out this out there, please make sure you connect with us. Then we are also going to be encouraging those who are in the space of providing infrastructure to continue to provide this internet. We live in a time and age where if you don't have internet is a problem. So internet has to be provided. I mean, has to be provided. And of course, we have to continue to promote collaboration. So if you are right there, you're listening to me as part of the youth out there who are already finding relevance in the tech space, please reach out to us. There are ways by which we can partner together and collaborate for us to be able to achieve more, because one will chase 1,000 and two will chase 10,000. The impact of the technology on SDG is, like I mentioned, is about 70%. So there is no aspect of SDGs that is not being well impacted. So I will not take time to gloss over this. But as I round up, I want us to look at something very critical, right? And that's what you and I can do to play our own role in having this strong inclusion in driving the SDG for completion. 5 years is just a stone throw away. In 2030, we are all going to be singing that we've arrived at another dawn of another space in time. So what are you going to be doing? What am I going to be doing? Number one, you have to remain within the environment where there's going to be enabling of advancement of technology. Then you have to continue to collaborate with us and begin to preach and evangelize technology. And of course, also begin to look at how we will prepare the future generation, because generation beta are fast growing to catch up with generation alpha. So generations Gen Z are no longer even the bane of conversation now, right? So we need to begin to look at, and I'm sure that once generation beta emerge, generation gamma is also going to catch up so we need to be strategic about all this, and that is why the call is out there to you and I to find a way to be sure that we are within the space. I think I need to stop here now so that I hand over back to the moderator, so that I don't take the other time, because there are quite a lot of people who are already giving us examples of things that they are doing here, which I know we all are aware about them. You see all those products and all those technology inventions that are out there. So the question is, what are you going to do in order for you to be able to play your own role and play your own quota in ensuring that SDG goals are fulfilled? Thank you. Over back to you, Bamshe.
Thank you so much, Architect Bolaon, Dr. Architect Bolaon, for that insightful keynote address on how we can actually leverage the digital platforms as youth for sustainable development. And as we progress in today's event, I would like us, all 24 of us, to take note of 3 major points for everything we're going to talk about today. The number one is youth. That is who we are. That's our identity right now. The second thing is digital pathways or digital practices. So the word digital. And then the third one is sustainable development. So when we put all these 3 key points together, we have a good understanding of what we are talking about today, how us as youth can use digital pathways to promote sustainable development, right? So thank you so much, Dr. Bolaon, for that. One interesting fact that you mentioned was the statistic that 60% of the African population is under 25. 60, that's more than half. So more than half of the African, not Nigerian, not Ghanaian, not Kenyan, African population is less than 25. That's amazing. So that shows that the majority of our population is strictly youth, and it gives credence to this seminar, because we see how important it really is that this strengthened population, or this population of such mass is strengthened rather, so that we can then achieve much more, because they have the numbers, so they need the knowledge and empowerment. Thank you, Dr. Bolaon, for that. So we're going to be going straight into the panel session, because we have a lot to discuss, as we've already seen from that keynote address. So right about now, I'll be once again introducing our panel speakers, and thereafter we'll kick off with the panel discussions, where they will be answering a series of questions to shed more light on this salient topic. And thereafter, we would give a brief opportunity for us listeners, if we have any other questions aside what they will be asked, So you can put down those questions and ask them, and you get answers, I assure you. So the first panelist on this panel session is Oluwademilade Orimolade. She's an SDGs development knowledge facilitator and historian. So if there is anybody to talk about sustainable development, it is a sustainable development knowledge facilitator in person of Oluwademilade Orimolade. Can we give her a virtual clap, a round of applause? And let's just imagine that she's taking the stage right now, even though we are not physically present. Yes, so let's put our applause together as she climbs the virtual stage. Thank you, thank you. Next person on this panel session is architect Olashupo Oladipo, who is also an architect like our convener today. He's an architect, a structural designer, and a projectpreneur. I think this is the first time I'm seeing a person with this title. I might have seen it online, but this is the first time I'm seeing somebody who is a projectpreneur. I'm curious to know what that actually entails. I hope architect Olashupo can shed some light on that. Are you a project manager, or, I would like to understand that, but that's by the way. Can we also give him an E-clap as he climbs the E stage? And then the final panelist on this panel session is Rihanat Amosu, who is a Hilton Prize Scholar, an Atlas Core Virtual Leadership Institute member, a project manager, a traveler, a tourist, and much more. Please also, let's put our hands together as we welcome Rihanat Amosu. Thank you so much for the applause so far. All our panelists, you are most welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So right about now, we'll be starting the panel discussion, and it will go in form of question and answer. So I pose a question to you, and you give your most valuable, insightful answer. All right, so I'll be kicking off with Demilade. All right, and Demilade, excuse me, can you give me a brief mic check so I can be sure that you can hear me and you're with us?
Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, loud and clear. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you. Rihanna, can you give us a mic check so I can be sure that you are here with us and you can hear us?
Hi, Bamishi. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you. And finally, Architect Olashupo, can you give us the mic check so we can be sure that you're hearing us clearly?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. How are we doing?
All right, great. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to kick off with Demilade. The young people of the world right now are at the forefront of digital innovation, using technology to solve pressing global challenges. Now, can you share some examples of how youth-led initiatives, digital initiatives, have directly contributed to advancing sustainable development goals? For the SDGs, I want to believe we're all familiar with what SDGs are. We have 17 of them. They're a group of goals that were enacted by the United Nations to make the world a better place. Right, we have 17 of them. So the question now is, can you, Demilade, share examples of how youth-led digital initiatives have directly contributed to advancing SDGs, and what strategies can help these efforts globally? The floor is yours, Demilade.
Thank you for having me here. I'm truly humbled. So as we all know that the United Nations Global Goals were created for peace and prosperity for people and the planet. And these goals are an urgent call for us. So I'm really, really grateful that youth have taken initiative in achieving these goals through digital solutions. And we have various digital initiatives recently that have helped to achieve some of these goals. We have initiatives like Cowrywise, mostly fintech initiatives that have helped to increase access to financial services. That aligns with SDG 9, innovation, infrastructure, and industry. We also have digital-led initiatives like I Lead Africa that focuses on digital technology and social innovation by empowering youth in politics and advocating for sustainable development. Also tries to touch upon inequalities. We have various initiatives. I can't list all of them, but the main thing is that technology is here to stay, like the keynote speaker said. It is here to stay, and it is now upon us to use it, utilize it, and help to achieve the SDGs. There are some ways that I believe that we can scale youth-led digital initiatives globally. And I would like to say collaboration, because the international system is evolving. Like you said, it's evolving, and we can't just be at one point. We can't just be backwards, so we have to move with the times. So we can't just do this on our own. That is why the SDGs are goals that have to be achieved collectively. That is why collaboration is very important. So I think that if we foster partnership between youth organizations, governments, businesses, and international organizations, we can leverage our resources and expertise. They can even born new projects that would help enhance and provide exposure for them. Also, I think that doing something like that, fostering partnerships through maybe workshops, forums, can provide an avenue for networking. That is where global networks and platforms come in. If we have global networks and platforms for youth to connect, they can share ideas, they can come up with projects that would help to create solutions in their various communities. We have some global networks like Sustainable Development Solutions Network. We have the Global Youth Action Network. We have Young African Leaders Initiative. And you don't have to pay to join any of these. You just join the network. You have phones, you can open your LinkedIn, you see, you follow, you join the community. Sorry, you join the community. So I feel like networks and networks, platforms, and collaborations help to create more exposure for youth digital-led initiative. And also, if we advocate for policies that support digital innovation and youth empowerment, I think it will help to expand youth-led digital initiatives globally. For instance, now in our country, Nigeria, I think that if there are policies that are made to support digital innovation, especially policies including internet connectivity and better infrastructure, maybe in electricity, it will help with the smooth running of digital technology and digital innovation. If we also secure funding and investment for youth-led digital initiatives, can support their growth and sustainability, maybe through grants, they can get money um, to focus on their projects and solve issues, very pressing issues. And like the keynote speaker said, we can never get enough of capacity building. So capacity building for the youth, even for the initiatives and those that don't have at all, are very important because it will educate them. They can spread awareness about it. They can even start their own initiatives through capacity building programs. So thank you. I think I've been able to answer that with this.
You've done justice to that actually. Thank you so much, Demilade. I like how you were able to not only mention the existing initiatives, but even talk about different ways. Because I was going to ask, one of the questions I was going to ask, you already answered it, which is how can youth connect with youth of other countries globally to be able to access all of these amazing opportunities and even push for the development much more. You mentioned global networks, you mentioned all partnerships, and these are ways, and it's interesting that we have a lot of them that are free. So it actually gives youth the opportunity to leverage on international networks freely and come up with ideas to develop the world. So thank you so much. And I hope that we're really gaining a lot. I hope we're able to jot down some things because she's dropping a lot of interesting points. that can help us. So if you know that your youth is interested in sustainable development goals, you could look out for some of the platforms she mentioned, or even just search online. We have the sustainable development. I think she mentioned a network for sustainable development goals. There's one youth leadership academy. So there are lots of them. It will be good and not just to hear what we've said, but take action after this session. It will be good that we can do that. Thank you so much, Kimilade. So we'll be going to the next question now. And this is for Rihanna. And this question goes like this. While many young people are considered digital natives, right? We are very familiar with the digital space. There are still significant disparities in digital access, especially in low-income regions. So as much as lots of young people are exposed to the use of the digital spaces, not everybody has that same access. And we can see this in low-income regions and among young women. So what steps can be taken to ensure all youth, regardless of their background or gender or whatever it is, have equal opportunities to leverage digital tools for social progress? I believe everyone has something to contribute. So how can we ensure that this opportunity is given to all youth? This is for you, Rihanna.
Okay, thank you very much for that question, Bamishi. Please confirm that you can hear me clearly. Hello, everyone. Please confirm that you can hear me so I can proceed.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
Yes,
can
we
hear
can hear
you.
you.
Okay. So there are a couple of things I would like to highlight, right? So it's very easy for us to say, oh, a lot of young people are very they're digital natives. They know these internet things and how it works. There's a lot of everything going around. But in my experience exploring various places across the world, I know that there's still an extreme, in capital letters, there's still an extreme level of digital illiteracy among young people, right? And so how are we looking at addressing this? I'm very particular about digital literacy, and I'll give examples, right? So as seemingly connected as the world is, I can tell you for free that the average young person doesn't exactly know how to use a tool as basic as Google Maps. So they have Google Maps on their phones. They know that they can ask for direction to somewhere, but when it comes to actually navigating that map in transit, there's a problem. Right. Another very basic tool that I can tell you for free that a lot of young people today are still struggling with, something as basic as Google Lens. A lot of young people do not even know that Google Lens exists. They don't know that all you need to do is take a picture of something and Google tells you exactly what that thing is. That's why I say that there's still a lot of digital illiteracy. So the focus for young people as we look at solving these problems is we cannot emphasize the need for digital literacy enough in your schools, in your clubs, in your churches, across social media. We need to be able to provide platforms for people to have easy access to online resources. Right. So let's make sure that what we're clicking is actually leading to transformation for us as young people. I don't have anything against social media. I don't have anything against Instagram and TikTok and all of the rave of the moment platforms. But beyond entertainment, we as young people need to figure out how to make impacts in our own way, right? Which is why we need to focus largely on how to ensure that we're able to spread access to online resources for young people. There are a lot of platforms, there are a lot of organizations that are doing something about this digital literacy, especially in relation to gender disparities, right? And we have platforms like Tech for Her, we have platforms like Impact Her, there's ALX, there's all of them, right? You can only name a lot of them. But as in my conversations with one of these founders, one thing I've come to realize is people are not even applying. They're having to, it's free. We have scholarships. Please apply, join the train, learn this thing. There's a struggle to even get people to actually learn these platforms, right? So as much as there's the low income bit, so we don't have money, we're low income earners, we're not digitally literate. There's also the bit of these platforms are not being explored enough. So there's a need to push it out. We cannot stop talking about digital literacy enough. We need to push it out. We need to talk to people. We need to let people, because I'll give a very practical example. Bamishe mentioned earlier that I'm a traveler, so it means that I like to call myself a digital nomad. I've visited communities within Nigeria where children have never seen phones, right? They don't know that they can take pictures on phones. So while we are in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Benin, and we're living in the rave of, oh, the world is now a global village, we need to also come to terms with the fact that there's still a gap. The gap is extremely wide, and we need to figure out how to close that gap as much as possible. Yes, but Bamsi, I'm seeing your comments here. There are children that have never seen phones. There are children that have never seen laptops. So you sit in their community and they're calling all of their friends to come and look at this device that this young lady is using. That's to tell you how wide the gap is. So we need to be very intentional about digital infrastructure. We need to be very intentional about digital literacy. I like to bring in the bias of gender disparity as well, right? And by that I mean, even for education generally, there's still a very wide gap when it comes to women and the general education. Now let's lower it down to digital education for women, right? There needs to be an extremely innovative idea, an extremely emphasis on extremely innovative idea as to how we get women to even subscribe more. There's a shortage already even with the men. So you can now imagine how much more shortage we have when it comes to women, right? So we need to figure out more scholarships that creates a gender balance. We need to figure out an enabling environment for tech founders, right? There are lots of women founders that I personally admire a lot. There's Ifedru Simieti, there's Tosin Oladende. There's a lot of them that are doing great things with technology and digital innovation across Nigeria. But we need to do a lot more, a whole lot more really, as to close this gap, right? The enabling environment is extremely important. The fintech industry is extremely blooming. So when it comes to gender disparities, there are lots of things that we as women can do. I heard of a term a couple of weeks ago. It's called femtech, right? I'm like, oh, this sounds really cool. An example of what a femtech product is Flow. I'm sure that virtually every lady on this call knows what Flow is, right? So we should begin to look at innovative solutions like that. We need more women. We need more young people. Like the keynote speaker mentioned, Dr. Bolan, the generations behind are not smiling. If you give a 3-year-old a phone today, you don't need to tell him anything, but he's able to figure out how it works. That's how much we need to be intentional about ensuring that the right platforms is what they have access to. The platforms that give impact to us as young people, as a continent, is what we should be looking out for. I think, yes, I've exhausted my 3 minutes on this question, if not more. I'm sure that I can take some other questions at the Q&A session, but that's a general overview to answering that question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you gave a good response to that question. And I like that you mentioned, the various platforms that already exist for women to get access to tech knowledge and be equipped as well. But permit me to ask this question. Most of everything that you said, revolves around awareness, which is very important, and coming up with initiatives as well. But a lot of these sound like private or personal efforts. Can, private people's efforts really do significant work in reaching areas where people are not accessible to technology, or do we really need, the government's input on this?
Okay. So Bamse, the thing is, if I in my personal space find a solution that impacts only 2 people in a year, if all the 27 of us on this call do the same thing, if there are over Axel Bolan said over 60% of Africa's population are young people. So imagine that each and every person in their own little space are doing something in the right direction. Even the government will have the fear of missing out, and they will have no choice than to support us. So it needs to come from us as young people, as the little droplets in a large ocean, before we can now ask for support from the larger bodies, basically.
I like that. Thank you so much for that answer. That was very brilliant. So number 1, it starts with us. And number 2, truly, when a lot of things are heading in the right direction, people always have that FOMO, a need to join the bandwagon, in this case for a good reason. So yeah, that's good actually. And we hope, that actually happens. And all of this, they are beautiful words, but it will be more beautiful if we actually implement it. So like she said, if we can individually do something in our little space, in your street, in your church, wherever circle you find yourself, educate somebody about tech, about digital spaces, and from there it will spread and spread. Thank you so much, Rihanna. All right, so now we're going to our next question, and this is directed at architect Olashupo. And this says, as digital technology reshapes industries and society, how can young people be better supported in turning their digital skills into sustainable career paths that also drives social and environmental change? So it's not just something that we want them to just go and come back. How can they actually build career paths on this? And then what role do educational institutions and government have to play this process? Architect Olashupo.
Okay, thank you, Bamishe, for that question. There's a whole lot that's achievable and that can be done. As we all know, the sky, when it comes to digitization, is just even the beginning. So one way. So one way to go about this is creating, digitizing the learning process. I remember back in school, some of our lecturers are still probably using some standard notes to deliver lectures. Some we don't even type these notes out, which is probably even already even archaic, as it were. So I know so much of that is getting traction nowadays, but a lot of that still needs to be done, starting from our primary schools, secondary schools, and especially at tertiary institutions. A lot of digitization needs to be done. Then secondly, vocational training needs to be encouraged. Students and young people need to be encouraged, to engage.
So
vocational training, there's a whole lot that is achievable, because if the skills are not there, for the young.
Is it just me, or is it your network, sir? Yeah, I think somebody
wants to deliver on.
Architect Olashupo, can you hear us?
It's going to be actually the vocational training needs to be encouraged. I see a lot of that going on now.
Can you say something?
I can. Can you also hear me?
Yes, it's better than it was breaking for a good 3 minutes.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, can we?
It's better now.
Sorry about. Okay, is it better?
It's breaking. You could change your internet connection. Good. It's still breaking. So let's just give a minute to Architect Olashupo to sort out that. All right, I think this is just another reminder that if we have questions, we can note them down so that once it's time for the Q&A, we will be able to handle that swiftly. All right, so while we wait for Architect Olashupo.
Okay, sorry, I lost connection now briefly. I hope it's better now.
Oh, much better. Thank you. You can.
Okay, so answering your question, I did mention digitized learning in all cadres of education, vocational training, and certifications. And also, government needs to promote, digitized learning, creating level environments, support entrepreneurship, and innovations. But basically, the government, essentially their role would just be to create an enabling environment, provide support, funding support, and that environment for the youth to take advantage of. But nonetheless, the young ones need to be very intentional, because there are a whole lot of opportunities out there for us to take advantage of. We need to be innovative. We need to think outside the box. We need to be problem solvers. We need to bring something, to the table. Yes, sometimes you might decry government that, oh, government is not doing this, government is not doing that. Yeah, that is true, but there's a whole lot of responsibilities as well in the scheme of things. So young people need to be intentional, take responsibility, be committed to lifelong learning, acquire. So there are so many skills that one can acquire, and a lot of that is happening already, but we just need to keep pushing ourselves. Governments and probably the forthgoing generation won't push us. So we need to be intentional. We need to push ourselves. We need to be committed to learning. Money shouldn't be the focus, like the primary focus of why we want to do what we intend. But solving problems, innovation, meeting the needs of the community should be one of our fundamental drives. So basically that we should be intentional about learning. So thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Architect Olashpo. Thank you. The takeaway from what you said is that government needs to support a lot of these initiatives, especially when it comes to funding and providing them, because government will be able to do things more at a larger scale. So this is, for any one of us who might be affiliated with any government office whatsoever, you can always give an idea, give a suggestion. And while the government's doing its own, like Rihanna said earlier, as individuals, we do what we can. Somebody dropped in the chat section. Yes, I ran an outreach last week to young children on arts training. So like that, individually, we can make a change. And then finally, and very importantly, he mentioned how even when these opportunities exist, we have to have the mindset to participate. We have to have the mindset to be involved. And more importantly, know that this is for change, not just for money. So we should not just be out for selfish gain, but for the good of all. Thank you so much. Now, yes, 3MTT is also another example. Thank you. So right now, I understand that, for the first question, we all wanted to lay a solid base and foundation, but I would like to time our responses now. So we'll be very strict with the timing. So each person now has 1 minute, 30 seconds to 2 minutes to answer the next couple of questions. So we believe in the next 6 minutes, we should be done with the second round of questions and we can round up. Thank you once again to our speakers so far. So I'm going to go back to Demilade right now for the next question. Please try to restrict your answers to 2 minutes. Thank you. So now this question is on artificial intelligence. With artificial intelligence, AI, playing a crucial role in achieving the SDGs, how can young innovators responsibly harness AI's potential to address global challenges while ensuring ethical considerations and minimizing negative impacts on vulnerable communities? So I'll just let you do justice to that question, Demilade. Thank you. 2 minutes, thank you.
So I'd like to say that we all know that we use AI to make our work easier, and thankfully there have been many applications that have been able to sort some SDG goals, like AI-assisted diagnosis. We have applications that you can easily access healthcare, even from a remote area. That's telemedicine. Then even from the educational sector. We have personalized learning. We have more access to resources like ChatGPT. If you don't know something, you can just go there. If you want to use it for your schoolwork, you can just go there. Also, in the climate aspect, it helps with climate analytics, but I don't want to go too deep into various applications. Sorry, I don't want to go too deep into the various applications, but what I would like to focus on is the ethical considerations that we can follow in order to prevent negative impacts on societies. And the major one is transparency. Most companies or initiatives work with a closed source nature, yes, a closed source nature. So moving forward, digital-led initiatives should focus on an open source nature that allows others to collaborate or criticize or ask questions without, so that at least you know this is why this solution is like this is why this solution is like that. It should be open for more transparency. Also, I would like to include that they should focus on data security. Yes, data security. Be very careful with vulnerable information because it is very easy for those informations to be breached. So we must be very security conscious while inputting data into AI because it can affect.
Hello? No, please, you can finish your last statement.
Okay, because it can affect communities. Also, we need to focus on monitoring and addressing potential biases, not to affect minority groups or races.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Thank you so much, Demilade. Very importantly, like you did, you focused on the ethical considerations because we all have a good idea of how AI can enhance things by making things easier, smarter, more accurate. And those ethical considerations are really the bone of contention here, ensuring that the data is not biased. Sometimes when I try to use AI tools for things relating to Africans or Black people, the results are usually not as fine-tuned as they would be for white people. That's an example of a bias. So ensuring that there is no bias, ensuring that there is data privacy, so that the people whose data we are using to develop these AI models will not be compromised, and also ensuring that the data set is open source so that there is transparency. Thank you, Demilade, and thank you for keeping to time as well. Moving on to the next question. This is for Rihanna, and it's on collaboration. So collaboration across borders and sectors is key to amplifying the impact of youth-driven solutions. We cannot do anything on our own. No one is an island. We do more together. So how can we foster more partnerships between young digital innovators in the private sector and also with international organizations to create a more inclusive and sustainable digital future for all? Rihanna, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Bamche, for that question.
Thank you too.
On collaboration, I think we need to get past the phase where we think or where we typically assume that collaboration is just, oh, let's come together and discuss an idea and then keep it in the oven for another 5-10 years or another 6 to 10 months thereabouts before we implement. There needs to be a dynamic approach to collaboration if we're really going to make meaningful impact as young people. And I'll give instances. We need to start to look at cross-industry collaborations. That is extremely what is very atypical is that you go to events and companies say, oh, I'm a project manager, and the next person says, oh, I'm a this, I'm a that. There's an unconscious bias to want to talk to the people within your professions, right? You say, oh, that guy is a project manager, that probably has an opportunity or an idea for me. And then we continue to recycle this cycle if there's anything like that, right? So we have project managers talking to project managers, architects talking to architects, quantity surveyors talking to quantity surveyors, and the cycle goes on and on. So if we're going to make meaningful impacts, collaboration should start to look at cross-industry. It means that we should start to look at how one person in health can work with the guy in agric, the person in agric can work with the person in construction. You know, And then cross-continent. We need to be extremely intentional about collaboration. My profile on this on the flyer to this event says Hilton Prize Scholar at the Atlas Convention Leadership Institute. It's a training institute for young people from over 150 countries around the globe. None of them did I meet in person. Even the guys that are Nigerians, there were about 4 Nigerians. I didn't need to meet them personally for us to begin to talk about ideas. I didn't need to meet them personally for us to begin to say, oh, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this as we continue to learn about how to impact the world. So outside of the formal events where we meet each other, there needs to be a deliberate effort to meet outside of these formal spaces, right? It means that we should be intentional about scheduling further coffee breaks to say, oh, I have this idea, and don't just talk about it. Have working sessions. Like when I talk to my partners, it's not a meeting where we just talk and go. The best approach is working sessions. If you have a document, open a document in your meetings and document the hows as to how these collaborations can leave the WhatsApp group, right? So these ideas need to leave the WhatsApp group when it comes to collaboration, and not just talking about it or taking fine pictures for social media and LinkedIn profiles. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's a mantra that the youth usually say. Let this idea, let it leave the group chat, let the trip, let it leave the group chat. So yes, let's take action and let's collaborate. We cannot do it alone. Join a community. There are tons of them out there, both in Nigeria, Africa, and internationally. So join one. Just as you are here, you're a part of Engage Youth. If you are not yet a part, you came as a visitor, join us. Yes, that's the step we're talking about. Thank you, Rihanna. And then this final question goes to Architect Olashupo. Given that young people are key stakeholders in the digital space, how can we ensure that their voices are included in the policy-making processes that govern digital technologies? What are some effective ways for youth to influence digital policies that promote sustainability and equity? The floor is yours, Architect Olashupo. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Like I said before, the young ones need to get intentional. Well, yeah, there's a place for we being involved in the scheme of things, but at the same time, we also need to get intentional. We should not take the back seat when it comes to when things have been done. Even as far back in the university, the student union, I think they are represented in the school senate, in the school council, but oftentimes everybody's chasing some of that interest. But needless to say, young people need to get involved. We need to participate. If you are old enough, join a political party. Make sure you vote. Make sure even in governance, we are. Young ones have the numbers. So, but many times when on the tables that matter, we are not represented, often that's because we are not available or for some other reasons. But so we need to get involved. We need to participate. We need to learn. We need to learn to communicate. We need to learn to negotiate, to advocate, because Bolao said that Africa's population is about young population is about 60%, but the resources the resources are not in their hands. So so there's a need for us to learn how to be able to negotiate our way into the scheme of things, learn to communicate, just like the previous speaker said, learn to collaborate. Also, we should learn to research, organize policy labs, engage in stuff like this, like Engage with Africa, which is an advocacy group. So there's a whole lot to be done. So, but with the young ones, we should be self-motivated. We should be self-driven, getting involved in the scheme of things. Many times, all the noise is online, but there's so much physical things that also needs to be done. Like why that is good, but it's also important that our boots are on the ground, getting involved in the scheme of things, because as we get involved, participate, then our voices become loud enough for us to take our rightful places on the big table. So that's my answer to that. Now we should get involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Architect Olashupo. Thank you. So in the next 10 minutes, we'll be rounding up. So we want to take any questions we might have. So at this point, can you please signify by the raising of your hand, like we used to do it in school? So there's a feature to raise your hand, I believe. If there is not, okay, this is not. Okay, yeah, you can raise your hand. If you can't, you can send the chat. Or if you prefer to speak to us, you can unmute your mic. So I'll give us a few minutes to get our questions so that we can get answers and then wrap up for today. So while we're waiting for the questions to come in, we have an esteemed personality with us in the house. Like I said, I want us to take this like it's a physical event, although through our phones. So as I welcome and introduce this person, I would like us to give a resounding applause. Let him feel the energy and the love and the honor that we have for him. We have Reverend Professor Adetokunbo Ilesomi, a professor of architecture at OAU, the Great Ife, that he was called then, Ile-Ife. That's my hometown, interestingly. So I'm excited to be introducing him. So let us please put our hands together. Welcome him. I don't know if Prof would like to just say a few words. Yes, something real time, unmuted. Love it. Thank you so much. Let me see our responses. Great. A resounding applause. So Professor Ilesomi, you are welcome. We are so honored to have you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm glad to be in your midst. Sorry, I can't put on my video now. Well done, Bolahan and everyone.
That's
I've been enjoying the narratives and the dialogues. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And now that you are here,
thank you so much, sir.
While we're waiting for the questions, I would like to hear from a professor's point of view, especially because you are in academia. How possible is it that we can infuse, digital empowerment in the educational sector so that all of these things we are saying would be a reality? Because the greatest hub of youth is the educational institution. So, sir, what can you say to that? Thank you, sir.
Very briefly, I can say that we're on the move regarding all of this. That's why people like me are learning also. I am a youth at heart, though over 60, but we're catching on very fast. I can tell you that at the postgraduate college OU now, we have virtual oral exams for students who probably are outside, who are not physically present. They can have their viva, virtually. That takes place at IFE right now. So we are catching on and we are learning fast. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And it is great to have you here with us. It's amazing that we are having all of these being implemented, and we are hopeful that in the nearest future, digital sensitization will be the norm in the Nigerian educational sector. So we have one hand up. Oyedele Praise, the floor is yours. If you have any other questions within the next 3 minutes, also signify or send them so that we can address them at once. Praise, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much, Bamiche. Morning to you, everyone. I'm very glad to be in this meeting this morning because it's an impromptu meeting which I've never heard of before. Well, I'm very glad to be in the meeting. A quick one. I dropped a message in the group. I don't know, maybe you saw it. I was still referring. Looking at the world we live in now, I can say the effect of AI has become something that we cannot we cannot ignore. Looking at the projection for now in 2030 to come, the effect of UI in adverse way, let me say negative way, won't it overweigh the benefit? Looking at the tech world we live in now, that's the number one question. And my number two question is more or less of a request. I would love to be added to the platform so that I would also engage other people, such as family and friends also. Thank you very much.
All right, that's great. And definitely, like we said, we are going to send the link to join the community, so you will be added.
Okay, Bamishe. So before Demilade answers Praise's question, because I think that question is more directed to Demilade, I'd like
Yes,
to say
I thought I was,
something quickly.
but please
Praise.
continue.
And Praise. So this was the same fear that the generations before had when Google was coming up. Today, you can Google Engage with Africa Initiative and find all of our information. It's the same way the people in those times felt when Google was coming up that you're feeling. So your concerns are perfectly normal. And if Google has been in any way beneficial to your life presently, I'm very sure that the use of AI would also give us better living mechanisms. Thank you. Demlade, over to you, please.
I couldn't get the question. Can you repeat it for me or just type it in the chat?
Sorry, Demilade, you want me to reframe the question? Hello? Yes, let me speak.
Ade, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yes. Okay, I've seen the question.
Okay.
Like I said before, AI is just there to help.
Okay, I think that the network is not so great on Demilade's end. So to avoid elapsing of time, I would like to direct this question to Architect Olashupo. What if the risks of AI outweigh the benefits? What then do we do?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that question. Now, I mean, over the course of human history, that there's always been that fear. When the Industrial Revolution came about, people were afraid machines will take over humans and all of that. So as humans continue to evolve, such fears definitely will persist. But I think we as young people need not fear. I think basically, just like all the speakers have reiterated in the course of their session, is that we should be intentional. Don't get left behind. We commit to lifelong learning. AI, AIs are trained by data models generated from, human use cases and all. So, but we ourselves, as young people, once we acquire the skills, we're able to, manipulate this technology, use to our advantage and all. AI does not have, at least for now, consciousness of its own, so that means there's a whole room for development for every one of us to key in, just take advantage of the opportunities that AI presents. So we should not be scared. We should upskill. We should advance. We should learn, and develop capacity to be able to take advantage of the possibilities that there are.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Thank you so much. I would like to, reinforce that one of the ways to ensure that we have a say and not be on the side of fear is to be involved. So if we upskill, if we equip ourselves, we also would be at the forefront or in the game. We'll be able to be in the loop of development of these AI models, and then we can ensure that whatever is being developed, does not go against us or does not bring to life those consequences in quotes that we are afraid of. Like imagine there was no single African involved in any of the AI development companies. There will be a huge bias on Africans, on Blacks, if there were no Asians there. So that's how it is. We need to be involved in order to be able to change the game in our favor. So let's upskill, let's be open-minded, let's collaborate, let's volunteer, let's be interested. Thank you. So we have one more person. This is the last question we're going to take. Last question. And then we close off. Emmanuel has a question. Do you want to unmute and ask the question, or you're typing it? Hello, Emmanuel, please can you confirm if you are typing the question or you want to ask it?
Hello, good morning. I hope
Good
everybody
morning.
can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on the way. That's why I'm skeptical of opening the mic. But yeah, I think it's better I speak. So I'm so happy to be here this morning and I've learned a lot from this program. So quickly to my question. Concerning youth involvement in digital literacy and tech and all that, from our own point of observation, for example, now we have a lot of youth that goes into tech or digital activities. So I want to ask, is there a way or is there a structure put in place? Because I just feel if you, let's say you study engineering, for example, when you finish and you divert into, let's say, a full-time tech role, in the nearest future, are we not going to lose more engineers to another field? Or let's say we are losing more doctors to tech and digital literacy. So is there a way that there are courses or tech programs or tech skills that you can acquire that align with the course you study in school? So instead of a lot of people diverting from their main course or their main foundation to another course, whereby in the nearest future we have a lot of people overloaded in a particular sector or profession, then the other professions are lagging behind. So is there a way we can balance it up that, okay, if I study architectural or lawyer or engineer in school, I have a tech skill that aligns that can apply. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would just direct this to Architect Bola to give light to this question. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bamshe, and thank you, Emmanuel, for bringing this up. So I mentioned part of this. I seem to have answered part of this in my introduction presentation. Number one, you need to be committed to your primary discipline. Okay, like we have here now, we have people from different disciplines, and we are talking tech because there's tech inclusion in what we do, right? But some of us have even transited into establishing tech promotion in our practices. So the whole idea is not to transit people into a full-time tech roles and all of that. There's tech inclusion in all walks of life, even the ones that seems to be informal disciplines. You know, when Architect was talking, he mentioned about TVET, that's Technical Vocational Education and Training. So it's also one of the things I will promote here in our engagement with community youths and communities. So you have to, first of all, understand your commitment and purpose in your primary discipline. If it's something that you really want to drive in ensuring that you are solving problems, right? Then the second thing is now for you to understand how you want to deploy technologies in your primary discipline. A very good example is in architecture. Okay, we are talking about inclusion of the AI. Some of the programs, the softwares, the BIMs we used to use are now AI driven. So if you're an architect practicing and you don't understand this thing, it's like you are not going to really be solving problems. So the same thing I mentioned about how technology is included in other disciplines like medicine, health sciences. We also have in agriculture. We have in what's it called, production and manufacturing, generally industrialization. So there is an inclusion all across board. So you need to understand what profession you hold, what practices you are in, and how can you have an inclusion of AI and generally technology, because technology is not just only limited to AI. It's just that it is the advanced technology now. There are other technological applications out there, you know. So AI is just driving most of these applications. It's just driving most of the narratives now in terms of advancement. So that's what you need to do. So there is no discipline, there is no practice now that does not have an inclusion of technology. You just understand what you need to know about it and how you can begin to apply it in practice. Even those that are in services, because I see you mentioned about legal, even in services, you are preparing documentation, secretariat work, there are AI that can facilitate productivity, that can ensure that you achieve more results with limited resources and limited time. You know, so that's what technology is talking about, delivering results and driving more value proposition for the world. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that, sir. I believe that we have a good understanding of what he said. And at this point, we've come to the end of today's session. Thank you all for being a part of this. It was truly
Sorry, Bamishi,
yeah.
hello, Bamishi, sorry for interjecting. I don't know because someone just dropped this now. So maybe I can just reflect on it in 30 seconds.
Okay, you can.
Femi Amora said he's asking for application of tech in theology. Yes, I mean, interestingly, I have a niche in this. That's why when I saw the question, I quickly had to talk about it. Yes, tech is also an area of inclusion in theological study and practices, not just only in study. So when you go to some theological schools, you see that there is technology. In fact, personally, is one of my commitments in my alma mater. I'm working with the school, the theological school, to work on creating curriculum for theologians and students in practice for them to be able to learn technology. So, I mean, as a pastor, as a reverend, as an evangelist, anyone holding any of the fivefold ministry, there are ways by which you can use technology to drive processes. Okay, you can drive processes using technology in practice as a theologian and also in study. Okay, so it's demystifying a whole lot of things in terms of learning and studying. There are a lot of online trainings for theologians because of technological applications. Okay, you can do head tech systems for schools. You can operate theological schools using technology, right? And there are ways by which, even in terms of in terms of application of communicating the gospel to people, okay, there's a way you can leverage on technology. Before now, evangelists will have to travel every nook and cranny to meet people in person. But look at the advancement of technology in media and mass media. Okay, you can reach a global audience. You can just be on a social media handle and facilitate communication through that and reach the entire world. And that's how even some places that are closed nations, some places that as missionaries, places that you cannot access, people have access to people who are living in those places now. So technology is driving processes everywhere and driving and facilitating results and values everywhere. And I see someone that just mentioned now, we have mobile applications of the Bible. People, you can promote the use of this with your membership for people to be able to get more acquainted with the Bible for them to use. I mean, I remember when I first had access to some of these historical materials, it was so much expensive. But now you have all these materials at the tip of your finger because they have all been uploaded with technology. So these are things that we can look at. There are much more results and solutions that you as an individual, because it's now becoming a concern for you, you can think about how you can use technology to solve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Architect Bolan. Thank you. And I'm seeing from the chat that Oluwafemi has, been excited by that, and he even wants to connect. So that is a good development. Thank you, sir. All right. So at this point, we've come to the end of this session, and I just dropped a link to the group chat for those of us who said they want to be part of this community. The link is there. You can join to be a part, to volunteer. We would love to have you on board with us. And at this moment, I will hand over to our beautiful Bolanle once again to give us any important announcements and to close us off. Once again, my name is Oluwalo Bamishe. It's been amazing being your host. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Bamishi. I'm sure we'll all agree that this was a great session. Bamishi did a beautiful job comparing, and all of our panelists did they did justice to the questions. They were very real and practical in their answers. Architect Bola did a real, grand opening with the, explaining and demystifying the topic of the session. And also, our Reverend also gave a very insightful, answer to the question that was asked. Everyone that contributed asked questions, gave it their contributions, also did a great one actually. Like I was gladly encouraged. That was like it's such an interesting one. See that you can do much more. There is so much more that we can do with technology. There are a lot of opportunities out there for people to learn. I mean, there are a lot of free learning packages out there. ALX does free packages on how to harness technology, how to do better with artificial intelligence, that is not here to take your job, but you can even be more creative with artificial intelligence, how you can even, use all this AI integrated solution providers to make your life better and easier. So I'm very, very glad that it is something that is very, very relatable, very practical, and it will help everyone in all of our areas of life in different fields and sectors that we are. I'm really, really glad for everyone that has put in their best to make this session a very great one. And for people that want to join, Bamishe dropped the link in the chat box, so you can fill the volunteer form and we'll reach out to you to ask more questions and then put you in a particular team where you'd be able to function and utilize your skills and also learn and become a better person to impact the next person in your community. So further information will be dropped. We'll share our calendar for September and other activities that we'll be having for September and other ones that we'll be having before the year runs to an end. Thank you all for joining. The guests that joined, we're very, very glad that you joined. I believe you've learned one or two. If I would like to know if Dr. Bola has something to say. If not, we'll just round up the session and look forward to the next one. Thank you. Thank you, Bami. She really did a great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I believe we can call this a day. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. See you again next month. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
And
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye.